You're welcome to Business Daily on Trust TV. My name is Chamun Dabeng. Let's talk numbers. Let's take a look at the market this morning. You're welcome back, and once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Today on the show, we're still continuing our look on the recent interview with President Muhammadu Buhari. And you know, when he was asked about the economy, he went on and on about the Agric sector. It was somewhere that he had, focused on, and said that for his regime, it was something that he was going to be taking a deep look at before the end of his tenure. Now, joining me in the studio today to take a look at the agriculture sector and also the comments of President Muhammadu Buhari on the Agric sector and the plans that he has for the sector itself is Dr. Samson Galadima, and he is an economist. And I also have here with me business developer Collins Nwosu. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right. So before we go on and give our thoughts on the comments that President Buhari made, let's take a look at the video where he spoke about the Agric sector.
Now we are doing from Lagos to Kano, the road from here to Kaduna to Kano. So we have to have that infrastructure right. And then Nigerians will mind their own businesses. But when the infrastructure is not there, the roads are not done, the rail is virtually killed, there is no power, what do we expect people to do? Look at the vastness of Nigeria. Only 2.5% of the arable land is being used. We realize it's rather too late, but we have to go back to the land. Remember, people were depending on foreign rice before. Now we are exporting rice. We have made some progress, The closing of the borders, 1,500 kilometers with Niger, and then the whole of Benin Republic for a couple of years, stopping importation of food. And Nigerians went back to the land, sufficient people went back to the land, and we are now adequately feeding ourselves. I think we made a lot of progress.
All right, so let me turn to my guests. What do you guys think about the comments that President Buhari made on the Agric sector during the interview, the exclusive interview that just happened last week? Let me start off with you, Dr. Galadima.
All right, I actually watched the program, and I was shocked when Seun Akimbaloyi asked the question about our inflation, about our debt, about the value of the naira, about so many things, and the president responded by saying, I don't know how you did your calculation, but I think what Nigerians need to do is to go back to the farm. I think the fixation on agriculture by Mr. President is just out of this world. Agriculture is important. Nobody can dispute the importance of agriculture to any economy. But I think we are going about it the wrong way, in the sense that the president wants everybody to be involved in agriculture. And when the country progresses, less and less people will be involved in agriculture, and more output will be generated from agriculture. And if we are serious about fixing agriculture, then we need to do many things beyond just financing. It's not just about anchor borrowers. It's not just about trumpeting and shouting it on the rooftops that agriculture, agriculture, agriculture. We have a land tenure problem. I think the president mentioned it. He said particularly in the South. There are so many factors we need to consider. And agriculture should go beyond subsistence agriculture, as is so common in this country. We need to move into mechanized agriculture. And agriculture today is more than 20% of our GDP. That doesn't show a country that has progressed. It's an indicator, sorry to say, of backwardness. Any developed country that you know, agriculture is a tiny percentage of the GDP. And it produces more than enough for the domestic market and even export. But more than 80% of Nigerians are involved in agriculture so far. And people that are fully involved in agriculture is 50% of that. And we can hardly feed ourselves. Even the rice that the president has made it the focal point of his presidency, we don't produce enough for the domestic market, and we still have to import. So we still have a long way to go, and we should not just be talking about one thing, one sector of the economy or one industry. We should look at our comparative advantage. What is Nigeria good at compared to other countries? What is the opportunity cost of focusing on agriculture, on oil or any other industry? That's what the government needs to consider. I was happy when they announced the appointment of Professor Doyin Salami for the larger chunk. The president has been around for close to 7 years, and he didn't bother about appointing an economic advisor until recently. That doesn't show that they're serious about the economy. And if you look at any problem in Nigeria, talk about insecurity. Even the insecurity may not be considered economic in nature, but if you look at the underlying factors, it's basically economics, it's poverty, it's unemployment, it's illiteracy. And if you fix the economics, I think most of these problems would really die down.
All right, Mr. Collins, let's hear from you. What are your own personal thoughts on the comments that President Buhari made on the agricultural sector?
I would say that while agriculture is an important part of any economy, we need to begin to look at these things holistically. One is that government should be a driver, a supporter of business, not the people sitting and trying to run businesses. So we already have an error there where government is trying to be the business owners instead of facilitating business. We also have, I like to think in terms of private sector-led, businesses, but enabled by the government. Now, this enabling environment will go into things that Doc is talking about, like security. If a place is secure, people are happy to invest and do things the way they ought to do them. Now, let's go back again. Let's look at agriculture. Agriculture in itself is not bad. But the thing is that the way we practice agriculture on the continent as a whole is more of producing items, and we're not exactly adding value to them. So the projection, considering the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, is that already Africa's wage bill for food is going to hit about 110 billion by 2025. That's just in the next couple of years. And the agribusiness, which we mix up agriculture and agribusiness, has a lot underlying it. So there's technology, there's e-commerce, there's as he mentioned, not just using hoes and things, but different manufacturing practices that can be embedded into agriculture. So agriculture begins to feed different industries. From agriculture, you're talking pharmaceuticals. From agriculture, you can get items that relate to cosmetics. You can get different sectors that can be developed from the root of agriculture. So we're talking agribusiness, which again, projection is that would be about a $1 trillion industry in the African continent with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. So it's important, but the issue is that despite its importance, in spite of how much we tout it, the infrastructure that is to drive it doesn't seem to be given attention. So we have issues with let's say security is one. It really, for me, is an infrastructure because the people are having clashes. The certification is creating a natural movement of animals to where they would find, pasture. So that's causing a clash. And if it continues, the certification would even get to the south. So we need to think of the ecosystem. We need to think
Yeah.
of, it goes into the carbon impact, it goes into a sustainable environment, it goes into a circular economy. Those things begin to play. And government has a role to play in information dissemination and creating an environment that will enable the private sector to do some of the things that needs to be done. Then you move further down that you have transportation of items. So we are largely producers, we produce, but then we're not adding value, or semi-processed foods. So you have tomatoes, most of it will get spoiled in the course of production, because there's nobody to take it off. And even if you take it off, we want to transport tomatoes in baskets on trucks all the way to Lagos or wherever else. They get damaged. Why are we not having factories around those items? We produce a lot of cassava with over 70 million hectares of arable land in Africa, in Nigeria, as it were. And our arable land space being bigger than South Africa and Tanzania combined.
And there's only a small percentage that's actually being used. So
we now have, it is an aberration to have 80% of those involved in agriculture being smallholder farmers. So there is, we are saying the right things. We seem to be talking the right policies. The CACS scheme, there's the export expansion and support scheme, there's the zero rejection scheme. All of those sound nice, but they have to be driven through. Something has to, we're not bereft of policies in this country. I think it is in the place of implementation. It is in the place of getting these things to actually function and work. That is the key. So it's not what we have. It's not what the president is saying. It's what are we doing with what we have. Even in the oil and gas industry that is contributing a whole lot to our GDP, we are still not functioning. I mean, we should be producing.
But how much is it really contributing to our GDP?
Whatever.
Even the agricultural sector has contributed more to the GDP than oil.
What, 2021? 2020 really. I haven't looked at last year's numbers. Where it has risen from 20%, what Doc was talking about, it's risen to about 30%. But then that's still semi-processed, food. So where are the industries? If we produce, the amount of cassava we produce in Nigeria is so much that the world at a point in time recognizes us as the largest producers of cassava. Now, cassava can help us to produce methanol, produce a whole lot of other products from cassava.
Same thing with palm oil.
Same thing with palm oil, same thing with shea, same thing with granite, same thing with... Nigeria has the biggest, about 51% of the world's shea butter, kade, ori, whatever we call it. We have 51% of the trees, yet we're not one of the top 5. Well, we're about the top 5 in the shea belt. But why shouldn't we be number 1? Now, again, it goes into infrastructure. So rails are not working the way they should work to transport stuff. The roads are bad. Even if we're talking about e-commerce, it becomes difficult for people to place things where they should place them. Access to equipment is an issue. Importing, we have to import virtually everything and import. So the bottom line for me is that, can government take a step back and really, really liaise with the people who are on the field, who are doing business, agribusiness, not just farming? Because when we talk agriculture, a lot of people think farming. But agribusiness is beyond farming. There's manufacturing in it. There's transport in it. There's certification in it. So there are services and there are products, there are goods that are involved in this entire value chain that is driving up to 1 trillion. We have to begin to empower our people with information and with support to help them get these things done. So players like NAFDAC, how long does it take for you to get a NAFDAC certificate for your facility if you're into food or you're going to get things from primary producers? That could be a nightmare, right? So can we facilitate
this
that?
Should be a process that should be extremely easy for people.
Beautiful.
It should be 1, 2, 3 step and you're done.
So that's it. So can we do those? Can we make those work? Even when people want to get land for them to set up factories, for instance, how easy is it for them to access the land? How easy is it for them to get the C of O's that will become the basis upon which most of their lending activities or financial activities will be with the banks? How easy is it for them to get that? So it's all hands on deck. So the presidency has to be on deck, the MDAs have to be on deck, the governors have to be on deck, the local governments have to be on deck. We have to see this as a business. We have to be, lack of a better word, we need to be desperate enough to say we're not going to continue with the old practices that have kept us here. We're going to engage in new practices, and that will begin to create the shift and help us to key into the wealth that is there. We have to go beyond potential. I think I'm tired of talking about potential. Potential. Can we move from potential to actually making things happen?
Yeah.
That's my take.
The implementation of that potential and making it a reality in the country, so it actually plays an actual role in contributing to the good of the people. But anyway, so for our viewers out there, for you guys to have an understanding of what the GDP looks like, we're going to take a look at agriculture's contribution to the GDP. So in 2013, we're going to start from the end, and I'll just skip down to 2020. In 2013, it was 23.3%, and by 2020, it was 22%. Actually just 22% there. So you can see that there has been a lot of fluctuation in the agric sector itself. So let's take a look at it as compared to other industries. So we'll take a look at the GDP in 2021 comparing to other industries. So looking at the oil sector, it's at 7.42%. At the agricultural sector, it's 23.78%. However, by the third quarter of 2021, we were up to 29.94%. That is the GDP contribution of the agriculture sector. Now, looking at these figures and, looking at everything that has happened from, should I say, third quarter and fourth quarter of 2021 down to this point, what do you predict for the agriculture sector in 2022? Let me start off with our economist here.
All right. The current government has made agriculture the most important thing it wants to pursue. And so far it has been so from when the current president came on board, and 2022 is not going to be an exception. So they intend to continue with what they have been doing, either the financing of agriculture, encouraging more and more people to go into agriculture, giving agriculture all the attention it deserves. So agriculture is very important because that's where you feed from. But like my good friend said, we need to go beyond just subsistence. We need to look at agriculture as a business, like additional. The former Minister of Agriculture used to say, agriculture should be seen as a business. So we need to go beyond just using it to subsist, to seeing it as something to make money from, something to export, to generate foreign exchange earning, which Nigeria seems to be lacking because oil is not as important as it used to be. And we need to use it to boost our GDP. We need to have a lot of value addition. Value addition is key. It's not just about producing raw materials. Value production is what gives you the edge. If your terms of trade are unfavorable, it's because you hardly add any value to what you produce. So Nigerians need to look in that direction, and the government should also make the business environment friendly. Sadly, we are one of the harshest places to do business. Our ease of doing business ranking is not really good. And the president, as well as the committee he leads, has been trying to improve our ease of doing business, which is commendable. But sadly, we have been doing basically cosmetics. We need to go beyond cosmetics to actually doing things that will improve our business environment. And agriculture will get better if the business environment is better. I'll talk about storage. When it's harvest season, there is a lot of output, a lot of farm produce, and then prices crash. The moment we are far away from harvest time, then things begin to go up. We need to go beyond that. We need to have storage facilities. We need to have silos. We need to make it very easy for people to access agricultural produce, whether it's harvest time or it's not. So a lot of work needs to be done. And it's not about the policy. We don't lack in policy. What we lack is implementation. We need to be serious about implementing this. It's not going to be easy. It takes a lot of grinding through. But where there is a will, there is a way. If we are determined as a nation, the president talks about agriculture a lot, but I think we need to go beyond just talking to actually acting. Mr. Wosu said we only talk about potential. We need to go beyond that. We need to actually see results. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. and I'm sure the government will do something. But we as citizens also need to play our own part in helping not just the agricultural sector, but the economy to be better, because we are not doing any favor by improving our economic well-being. We are not doing someone else a favor. We are doing it for ourselves, and eventually the entire country, the entire economy benefits from that.
All right, so Colin.
I think my take, thank you, Dr. Galadima, on this. My take is not too far from his take. We're undertaking a study right now, the EU GCC A+, as the climate-related project. And what we're seeing is that individual practices at individual level, local level, and at those smallholder farms is going to impact everything that is happening on the national scale. So this year, if we're not careful, we may actually run into problems in the initial stages of food prices shooting up. Now, what are the things that can be done for these food prices to be stabilized? It's not so much of injecting cash, it's not so much of having the silos work, but I think individuals need to wake up and take advantage of the policies that are there, take advantage of the opportunities that are there. I remember when the NISOL scheme started, quite a number of people that I met and I spoke to, I said, oh, have you applied to access the funds to support your business? You're in poultry, you're in this, you're processing feed. Have you said, no, it doesn't work, it's that Nigerian thing. So there is already distrust when it comes to government policies and the implementation and it actually working. So people do not have trust in it. But those who did actually got through. So there were quite a number of people who accessed those schemes. So my take is that many more people should look at the business of agriculture, look at the opportunities that are there, avail themselves of this information which is out there, and begin to press for it. Because if we do not press as individuals and as business people, if we're waiting to be spoon-fed, which is the gap we see, government says this is what we want to do, that's the body language generally, and then we now say, oh, they've not done it before, so we're not sure they're going to do it again. No, that has to change. We as individuals, we as a nation, we as Nigerians need to start pressing and say, you promised us this, we're doing it, it's not working. That way we can speak intelligently about the challenges. We can not just speak, we can also create solutions around the challenges. We've had successes in the country that were not government driven, so to speak. So Flutterwave, Paystack, those are tech, people in tech spaces. They've gone out there, they've looked at what the opportunities are within what the framework that exists and leveraged it. And today they're serving the nation and create something.
All right, I do have a question now. Taking a look at what you said about people not really, taking up on those opportunities. We do have certain schemes and policies like the Anchor Borrowers Program itself, where the government actually disbursed over 700 billion naira to the populace, but then they're still dealing with non-performing loans, people not paying back that money, and this was something that was designed for the government. And obviously, from what the situation is, we do have people who have taken advantage of it, and not necessarily in a good way, but also in a negative way.
Okay, so to speak to that, when I'm speaking of people taking advantage of these opportunities, I'm not talking about going to get your own share of the
national cake.
That's not the disposition. Oh, we've gotten ours, so hey, if you want, chase me till forever. No. You are actually interested in creating business, creating wealth. You're actually interested in making an impact and setting a legacy. And when you step into those places, we have examples. We have we have Nagari Farms, we can mention Olam, we can mention quite a number of businesses that have taken agriculture as a business. There's LNZ, Silade Farms. They are taking agriculture and they're changing the narrative. Everybody who's going to get into this to succeed, and not just to say I'm going to subsist, I'm not just staying at the bottom of the pyramid, I just want to eat, must look far. So you're starting small, but you're thinking far. That's what's going to take us ahead. It's not about oh, I've accessed 1 million naira. It's that you've accessed it and you're putting it into a business that you know is going to generate wealth. So a lot of the problems we're also having is because our people were not prepared to take advantage of this in the right way. We are, for the most part, when I interact with business owners, we pay lip service to growth, we pay lip service to wanting to advance, and there's a lot of complaints. So it has become natural, normal for us to complain. While I'm not saying that everything is perfect, but I'm saying that there are still opportunities within the problems that exist, and the schemes that have been brought up, we must We must drive them ourselves. So the policies are there. Okay, you don't know the policy, that's your issue. Nobody, they say that ignorance of the law is not an excuse, right? So ignorance of the policies that exist is not an excuse. It's for us to say, okay, this exists and I want to take advantage of it. And I want to begin to position myself to take advantage of it. For instance, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is here to stay. How many of our business owners know that this is here and it's to our advantage and we can begin to position to sell our products and services? There are services that can be sold within agriculture. Information in itself doctor is selling a service when he's looking and analyzing the economics and saying these things can work for you, this can work in this manner. Those are services, but how many are positioning like himself to say, hey, look, I can render you service and I can be of help to you, not just in the local scale, on the global scale. We've had programs like the ETLS, the Economic Trade Liberalization Scheme for ECOWAS. How many were even aware of it before taking advantage of it? The export expansion grants, how many are aware of it to even say they'll take advantage of it? The zero rejection program, how many are aware of it to say they're going to take advantage of it? So there is a gap between what exists and what people know exists and what they can take. Even the NISOL scheme, people, how many were aware of it to say, okay, we're going to take advantage of it? So that gap.
So it's an issue of proper awareness and communication from the right bodies to the populace, so that they can actually understand and know that this is something that they can take advantage of.
All hands on deck.
But once again, even when it comes to the agricultural sector, it's the same thing when it comes to brain drain. Even if you do have people who have hopes of coming in to make a difference, if you're not giving them the right environment to actually do so, they tend to, you know, sort of slip away. So there is a need to create the proper environment, so give them proper infrastructure, give them security, and give them the funding that they actually need, and we'll definitely see that sector growing. All right, so we do have to round up the show now because we've run out of time, but I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Collins, and thank you so much, Dr. Galadima, for being a part of the show. And to all our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Well, once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Come back again for more Business Daily. Let's talk numbers.